Hey guys, my name is Andrew. You're watching Tonka League Gaming, and today, me and my friend Zane, say hi, Zane.
Hello, everybody.
And we're gonna be reading some D&D horror stories with you. And me and Zane have been playing D&D for a while now, and we kind of wanted to read to you some really bad stories that people have experienced, and kind of give our take on what we think that was in the wrong, and trying to have a discussion about them. Hopefully we can learn something about what you should and shouldn't do as a DM and as a player. So if you're all set, Zane, let's get started. So you ready?
Yeah, man.
All right, let's start with story number 1. So, be me, playing a neutral good grave cleric. Be not me, neutral good necromancy wizard and neutral good forge cleric. DM likes to make me the campaign makes the campaign more story driven. Very first battle starts, but it's 2 NPCs fighting instead of the player characters. DM says we're unable to participate in this part, as this is a cutscene. We're already starting pretty good. Assume this is going to be an important part later for the story. We're starting to take notes on the names. DM describes both fighters sizing each other up. Apparently, there is some backstory between these two. And the DM starts the fight, but he's doing all the rolls, and we're just listening to the story as it's being told. Starts describing the pain and hate between both of them as how they feel towards one another. Explains every aspect of the fight, literally every aspect, down to how many sweat beads come down their face. Makes the players roll for knowledge of backstory between the 2 fighters so that we understand why a left hook to the face was more personal and meant more than just a left hook to the face. Okay? Makes us roll to understand how they're feeling so that we're aware that these 2 know that they have to fight each other and it's destined. But that doesn't make any of it less difficult. No matter what we roll, we still get to hear the backstory between the 2 fighters. This fight literally goes on for 2.5 hours in real life, as the DM describes everything. The only reason it stops is because I said I had to go. The DM tells me I'm missing the most important part and that I should wait. I tell him it's time for me to go, and the wizard joins me. DM says he only needs 10 minutes to finish the fight. I tell him I can't, and I leave. The DM tells me later that the fight would have ended in a draw and that they were brothers all along. No, not brothers by blood, but by creed, and one betrayed the other. Tells me that it would have been better if I would have stayed and found out instead of ruining the game by leaving unexpectedly. Not sure what to say at that point, so I ignored the text. So, we got ourselves a real winner of a DM. So, what'd you think about that?
I've never dealt with a DM like this personally.
Yeah.
I know, honestly, when I DM sometimes, I know I tend to, like, I don't know, I'll sometimes drone on a little bit. But I try to, like, bring people into it more. Not just, like, give them roles and that kind of stuff. But, like, I feel like you can't have just a battle between NPCs and make the like PCs like sit on the side, because then that's just like, well, I mean, like you said, it's like they're watching a cutscene.
Well, it's even more than that. It's like they're basically like forcing them to listen to this story that he wrote out as if it's like an audiobook. It's like if you wanted this to all be written out and you wanted no one to have any input or any interaction with your story, why not just write a fanfic or like this short story or whatever? Like, there's literally no part in this whole story where the players interact at all with the NPCs. So, and what's also confusing to me is they make us roll to understand how they're feeling. Like this bothers me about some DMs where you literally have to roll for every single thing. Like I roll to see if me walking outside down the steps means that I'm gonna trip over my feet and fall on my face. Like come on. like yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's a little ridiculous, but I see where I understand the idea of this like cutscene style of part of the session where you have this laid out thing that you want everybody to kind of listen to your thing, like little backstory or your monologue. But honestly, if you want people to hear your monologue, you gotta have some kind of consent with the other players about that, because it kind of feels a little too forced if you force your opponent or your the other players, like, oh well, I know this game is about interaction between the players, but I don't want you to interact with this part at all. It seems a little ridiculous, but anyways.
Yeah, because then it's like it's putting a restriction on your players, and like the other thing is that he wouldn't even have to really do a monologue, like, or at least that long of a monologue, because then, like, I don't know, that just it puts too much emphasis on NPCs instead of PCs, and I don't know, it just seems kind of off to me.
So,
'Cause, like,
yeah. Here's what I think. Here's what I want to ask you, because with this situation, I actually see a very easy way to fix this. Like, what you could have done is, let's say you knew you wanted this to play out, and you knew you want the players to experience this themselves. Why not, like, maybe they learn about these two brothers that want to fight in the future, and you set it up to where they maybe you're supposed to stop one of the brothers from fighting one another, or maybe if you can make it to where it happens in the past, you read little snippets of the fight as a legendary tale between, like, maybe messages that you find like scattered throughout a dungeon or something, like at least at that point, when the players pick it up, it's like it tells about a story between two legendary fighters and the way they fought. If the player was like, I want to read every single word, well then there you go. You made it to where that they have to hear every single word if they want to hear it. But what way would you do it if it was you?
well, for me, I mean, I wouldn't do the monologue thing.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't let it be like 2 hours long of just like an explanation of a fight between two people.
Yeah.
I would try to sum it up a little bit more and try to just use really just more descriptive text when like trying to, like, if I do have the fight go on just between these two people, you gotta at least, like, you gotta have the I guess the point of it driven home fast. That way the players don't get bored, but they still get the idea that you're going for.
Yeah.
It's like you can sum up that kind of thing pretty fast
Yeah.
instead of monologuing for so long and just like droning on about it.
Yeah, because, like, I always, when I try to, like, when I do, like, story-based stuff, I have to ask myself, okay, if I have someone in my party that's, like, a murder hobo, that all he cares about is murdering and killing and fighting, like, how can I make this interesting to that person? Because, like, no offense, DM, but not everything that you write and not every single idea that you have is super, super interesting to everyone. Like,
Yeah.
even the people who say that they do, wink wink, they maybe not, So But anyways, moving on. Going into the next story, we have written by Anonymous. Be generic, McFiderson the Third. Be happy with your life as an incredibly skilled practitioner of the light flail. All right. Capable of holding your own with these weirdos you call friends. Except the kobold. That thing can stay the fuck away from you. One day you start hearing voices. Think it's the chili from last night and ignore them. Go to sleep and get trippy dreams involving some angel of self-harm or some shit calling you the chosen. Telling her to go away, you want to sleep and you're perfectly comfortable with being an atheist. Bitch makes a nasty cut across your chest. It's there in the morning. Looks like a symbol. Get the cleric to try and heal it up. No effect. It's still bleeding. Symbol is still there. Bandage it up and ignore it for now. Process repeats each night. Emo bandage angel comes down and tries to make you her chosen one. Keep telling her you don't want to. And get cut, wake up the next morning, and more unhealed wounds. Ruins the sleeping bag. Eventually, start to die from all of this, passing out one final time, and see sadistic angel again. Offers to make you her chosen one final time. Tell her to fuck off so you can die in peace. She sends you to hell for rejecting an angel's offer. Soul is now forever damned to suffering and torment because you didn't want to give up your career as world's greatest metal on meat beater. Okay, so very clearly this is just the DM is fed up that their player is super generic and wants to give a interesting idea, like an interesting like thing that the character has, like an arc or like a hook for a character backstory, and just isn't happy that they are not taking it. Like, I don't know. What do you think about this?
Basically, like what you just said, where it's like, I don't know. I was kind of thinking it more of like from the player's view, where it's like, okay, why is the DM like forcing this stuff on my character? But at the same time, it's like, if you're gonna be like Captain Generic, it's like, we understand that there's like people that like to play that kind of a character where they're like more of just the generic. They kind of like to just be in the background a little bit more, give the other people in the party like their spotlight and that kind of thing. But at the same time, it's like, you should kind of accept like at least some things that the DM's trying to toss at you.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that it was cool of the DM to like try to force an entire like arc on a character.
Yeah.
I think you should like gradually kind of bring them into it. Like maybe give them like a sword or something like that. That's like a magic item that might, not that it's like cursed or something like that, but maybe it like belonged to the angel, and then like through that you start to like hear its voice, and it not that it tries to like force you to go in a certain way, but it's like, hey, maybe you should try doing this for a little bit, and then like try to coax the player into doing something instead of forcing them, because I mean that's just not fun at that point, because it's railroading in a sense.
Yeah, that is as railroady as it gets. Like, the main problem is that, like, alright, so I think that initially, right, the idea is good. That, hey, I have this idea where you can make your character have this interesting kind of arc, and if you want it, great. But if they don't want it, and they clearly didn't want it, like, just ignore it. That's the end of it. And, like, how funny would it be where it's like like that's what happened. It's like, nah, man, I'm just okay with being an atheist. And then that's the end of
Yeah.
it. Like, what angel is just like, you know what, I'm going to keep coming back just because I want this person to be the chosen one so bad. Like, come on, man. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
clearly you didn't want it. And it's not like, oh, this didn't work out, so you're just going to be a generic character forever. Like, he's a fighter. Like, fighters aren't, you can make that interesting in of itself. Like, you don't have to have fucking emo angel coming down, cutting your wrists in the middle of the night to make you interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, man. But in general, I think we would agree that the best way to solve this problem would definitely be give them the option, but don't force it on them.
Yeah, because that's not cool.
Yeah, definitely. So, moving on. The third story we got is, this is a story from a player named Norrell? I can't say it. But anyways, another story from when I ran a group from my school's club. At some point, during various members coming and going, we had a couple join. I think they were a friend of a friend or something. I don't really remember. Immediately off the bat, they showed no interest in actually playing. Constantly on their phone and not listening when combat was going on. They also strangely always sat against the wall, which initially I didn't understand why, but unfortunately none of the rest of the group cared about them not paying attention, so I allowed them to continue playing. Weeks passed, and playing Lost Minds of Phandelver, and they became even more of a problem to the group. Not participating to essential roles, making characters that killed themselves when tough combat happened, and furthermore, we found out that they were sitting against the wall as they were fingering and giving a hand job to one another under the table. And they had sat there so that they couldn't be seen. And eventually, one of the other players asked me to step in and have them leave as they weren't a fan of two members getting intimate while once another were playing. Oh my god. Okay, so first of all, if I have two players that are straight up just not wanting to play or not interested in playing, like, I would have noticed on day, like, 2. Like, the second session, I would have been like, hey guys, are you wanting to play or what? Because if not, I mean, let's not waste time. You know, like, you know, let's make this happen. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, oh, I've played with a couple people like this, excluding, like, the end part. More of just, like,
Yeah.
the part where, they're, like, on their phone and that kind of thing. Like, not paying attention, not really, but, like, they still have a character. Because, like, I've played with some people that, like, they would, like, be on the phone or they'd be drawing pictures, but, like, they still enjoyed playing and, like, they had their character. But it seems like these people, I think they're, like, exhibitionists or something like that.
Yeah.
Because, why would you willingly join a group not to play, but to play with each other instead?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it sounds like this is a high school, and so if this is a high school, then maybe this is the only way they can have fun times with one another without getting caught, I guess. That's the only thing I can think of. But other than that, like, I don't know, man. Like, I would have caught on to this, and I would have, like, said something way before now. But
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that the DM didn't catch on to the shenanigans going on with under the
yeah. But now, to be fair, I will say this. There are plenty of players who play D&D who just want to show up when combat happens, roll dice, and they don't care about role-playing, they don't care about the other parts, they care about the game of combat, and that's the main reason they play. And so for those players, Like, as long as they're like, hey, this is what I'm in it for, I don't really care about role playing. As long as they tell me that, then I don't care. Like, I know that that's what they're in for, and that's whatever, right? But if they're
you can gear it towards them a little bit more.
yeah, and I can be like, okay, well, this is the reason that this person's in. I'm not going to have any sessions with no combat because I know that that player would be very upset. And I don't want that. I want everyone to have fun. So, like that's what you got to do. And obviously the biggest problem and what could have solved this is that what should have happened to begin with is when they first started playing, you should have been like, all right, what do you want to get out of D&D? What do you want to, figure out? And you should have been able to figure out at the very beginning that they weren't interested.
Yeah.
So, man, I hate to be that DM. Like, Jesus. Well, let's move on to the next one. Yeah, I don't know. There's not really much to say after that last one, that's for sure. Okay, but all right, moving on. So, player casts silence on the enemy wizard. Enemy casts a spell. Go for the counterspell, but mention to the DM that if enemy's spell has a verbal component, it can't be cast. Ooh, okay. Okay, so we gotta... This is some Zane shit right here. DM tells me to stop being a rules lawyer. Okay. It's about having fun, not stop and debate rules. Back off due to rule 0. Counterspell, but fail the ability check. Enemy a wizard casts Conjure Elemental in 1 round. I can live with that, but it feels a little bit whack. Later in the session, before entering a room, ask to check for traps. Want to mage hand a length of bright red thread. Have mage hand try and lower extended thread to rest on any tripwire. Okay, that's smart. Trying to mage hand the little thread over to try and trip the wire beforehand so that it'll go off. Okay. Also use my hand to try and find pressure plates. Okay. DM makes me roll perception. I pass the roll. You detect more than 1 trap. What? Wait, hold on. Use Mage Hand to try and find pressure plates. DM asked me to roll perception. I pass the roll. You detect more than 1 trap. Okay, well, ask where they are, and if I can, what traps they are. Stop being so pedantic. It's about fun, not playing by the rules. You can only detect this room is trapped. Steps into the room, instantly trip a wire, and get hit with 6 darts doing 5 damage each. What the fuck? Okay, there's so many things wrong with that.
So much wrong here.
Yeah, you go first.
I mean, like, I understand the whole, like, rule of cool kind of thing going on. But, like, well, let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
So, I always, like, as a DM, I'm a little more lenient with, like, certain spell things. Or, like, if I'm unaware of what it is and someone corrects me, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, we can run it that way, because, like, that makes sense.
Yeah, right.
Understandable.
Yeah.
But it's like, very few spells don't use vocal, like, components.
Yeah.
And for a wizard to cast silence on another wizard, it makes sense that wizard can't do spells anymore.
Right.
Until until he, like, moves out of the range of that spell, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, it's like, for the DM to get all, like, weird about that and be like, no, it's not about the rules. It's like, I understand it's not about the rules, but, like, if you run it that way, there's no point for this character to have this spell. And due to the fact that, like, wizards only get 2 spells per level, he just wasted an entire opportunity that he could have, like, chosen a different spell or something like that.
just out of spite, I'm going to make a wizard that is mute and deaf and fights only using semantic components, and like some kind of fucking earthbender or like a firebender or some shit. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
like
that's when you power game to just ruin the person's game.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The problem with this is that clearly the player or the DM is mad that they created traps or puzzles that are too easy to figure out, and the players figured it out. Like, okay, so
I mean, even then, it's like I've had DMs, like my buddy Sean.
mm-hmm.
He's a really good DM.
Uh-huh.
He does really good like dungeon stuff, and like he puts a lot of traps in his dungeons. And one of the main things that he does is have us do perception checks, and he makes sure that our passive perception is like he has that stuff written down, so then we know, like, he knows what's going on. And he won't bring up traps unless either our passive perception brings it up or we ask to roll a perception check to see one.
Yeah.
Well, this player is asking to see where traps are, and it's like, if he's passing his stuff and he's going out of his way to like see where traps are or like activate them from a safe distance, it's like the DM shouldn't get mad at him. He should be enjoying the fact that this player is like going outside the box and like thinking critically and that kind of thing, instead of just walking into it blindly and then punishing him for no reason.
Yeah, like, the whole point of traps, in my opinion, is that you are punishing players who aren't paying attention. That's it. Like, if you are paying any attention at all, like, hey, this room might be trapped, and you look, you should be able to figure it out, because it's not like every room could be invisibly wired and it's impossible to see. Like, if you're looking for it, you should be able to find it. Unless, like, you roll a 1 or some shit.
Yeah, I mean, if you're rolling, like, nat 1s over here, obviously you're not gonna see, like, a trap. Because your character, in-game, just, if we're going off of how dice rolls are, it's like, if you roll a nat 1, your character's just distracted by doing something. Like, you're like, picking up rocks and throwing them in places, or, like, you stubbed your toe and, like, you're kind of stumbling around, something like that.
Or you're hearing the nagging of the paladin behind you, and you're so focused on trying to get him to shut up that you're not paying attention to your job, which is to find the traps, or some shit like that.
Yeah, or your other players are fingering themselves on the other end of the table, so your character's distracted.
Yeah, if the problem is, right, that you have an obstacle or a rule that you don't like, and you're annoyed that it's getting in the way of what you want to do as a DM because your players are smart or, you know, inquisitive or whatever, the answer is either one, take more time and make more interesting and more elaborate traps and puzzles, or two, don't get mad when your players try and succeed.
Exactly.
Like, you have to do one or the other. Like, you can't be mad that the players are trying, because if you don't want it, like, I don't fucking know, like, write a story where they always fail.
Exactly. Just make your own, choose your own adventure book where, like, oh, they didn't check for traps. Ah, they're dead. Oh, they checked for traps. Oh, hey, they're dead.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, so, moving on. So, I will say that I'm a low intelligence, high strength, and con bard that is currently level 4 and a totem warrior, which is which in reality is very stereotypical for a bard. Well, first of all, before we go any further, no, it's not. Like, a totem bard, I have personally not seen very often. So, anyways,
It might have been Barb. I'm not sure.
Oh, no, it says Barb. Yeah, Barbarian. There we go. All right, because...
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because I was like, wait, Bard? I've never heard of
it says
Bard before.
Yeah, it says Barbarian. Cut this part. I'm just playing. No, just playing. No. So our DM has picked a very picked a favorite in our group and basically tells the player everything he plans to do in a session ahead of time. All right, stop right here. Do not pick favorites. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I mean, I fall victim to this sometimes because like I usually have my wife in my sessions, and she's the only person that I can really talk to about certain things. So I'll like every once in a while I'll like run something by her, but I won't tell her like the full extent of what I wanted to do.
Right.
Just to like see like, oh hey, do you think like the group would like if I did this? And then like maybe a few weeks later I'll do that sort of thing, but like in a different way, so she's not really like expecting it or something like that.
Yeah, and like
I want her to still enjoy playing the game.
right, like as you know, my wife plays D&D with me all the time, and sometimes I get too excited for an idea, and I just accidentally spill it to her ahead of time, and it might be
Oh,
a
I know that
spoiler.
feeling.
Yeah, but like I don't pick favorites. Like I don't give any extra, you know, favoritism towards my wife than I do other players, because
Yeah.
let me just tell you now, they don't want that. They don't want to be treated any differently. They want to be treated like everyone else. Well, the favorite in the group happens to be my best friend. To sum things up, my DM told the player that he plans on running us through a dungeon where my PC is teleported into a room to fight a half-red dragon veteran and a lich by himself while the rest of the party watches from a side room. TLDR, DM is killing my PC because it's too stereotypical. Okay, so this is another situation where it's just like, first of all, I don't care how stereotypical your character is. You'll always find a way to make them interesting in some way. If just by playing the game, they become more interesting. Like I don't know anyone who's like, yeah, I want to play a bland stereotypical character that no one likes. And if you don't like them, right, find something about their character to latch onto, right?
Yeah.
Just
Like reinforce its strengths and that kind of thing.
yeah, just ridiculous. But what I'm still stuck on is the favoritism thing. Like, don't do
Yeah.
that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
I mean, I also think it's kind of messed up that he's like singling out that person and like separating them from the group to like basically like show, hey, I don't like your character. Here's these two like really hard things to fight. Specifically the Lich. I mean, like, are you really gonna do that?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
he's a barbarian, right?
Yeah.
And wait, he was level 4, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he?
Yeah.
Wait, what
Like,
the crap?
like,
Why is he...
yeah.
Like-
Let me put it this way. All right. How do you think this? Here's what I want every DM out there to do. When you decide that this is how the session goes, I want you to play it out in your head how you think the players are going to react. Do you really want your player to be like, oh, well, I guess I'm dead. Okay, that's the end of my game. Like, what do you think's going to happen after that? You think it's going to be like, oh, well, I guess I should have been more creative with my character. I guess I got punished. Like, no, he's going to be like, F you, I'm out. I'm leaving.
Yeah, 'cause it's like, not only, like, I think people that do this kind of thing forget the fact that, like, they're in real life. And it's not like trolling on the internet where it's like, there's the whole thing of, like, there's the separation between, like, you and a person.
Right,
That you're
definitely.
trolling, while in like in D&D or like a lot of games like this, you're most likely face to face with this person, and if you kill their character that they are probably attached to, I mean, I know I get really attached to my characters, so
Yeah.
I feel it when a character of mine dies. And
Oh,
it
yeah.
hurts because you like. I know that there's the thing of like, oh yeah, you don't have to really get attached to your people, but at the same time, it takes kind of part of you to make the character something that you would want to play for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Totally. And I think what really, really gets me about this story is that it seems like they just don't consider that, like you were saying, like you're talking to another person. Like you see them as the barbarian. You don't see them as, hey, that's another person that's playing a barbarian, and I'm gonna upset this person with what I'm doing in the game that's so clearly like vicious and targeted.
Oh yeah, I mean, just the fact that he put like the half red dragon veteran in there
Yeah.
versus a level 4 character, that was enough to make me go, okay, what? And then you said lich, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, like, all right, we know what's going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know what's going on here. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. From Anonymous, B level 10 Bard Charlatan. Excellent choice, by the way. Expertise in deception and persuasion. Meet with the local Thieves Guild. Decide to give a false name just in case. DM has me roll for deception. Roll 19 plus the bonus comes out to a 32. Holy shit. He easily sees through your lie and calls you by name.
Okay.
I'm calling bullshit. Such bullshit. Okay. It's okay, so there's two things that could happen, right? We're gonna need a little bit of context, but there's two things that could happen here. One is the NPC already knew the player's name, so why did you make him roll for it anyways, if he's gonna fail no matter what? And the second thing is, if you're gonna get him to roll, right, and it's an incredibly high DC, why don't you lead the player by saying, hey, just letting you know, this character is someone maybe you recognize and might already know your name or know of you, so it's gonna be harder to pull off. Because
exactly.
How?
But even then,
yeah.
The funny part about it, you got a 32, right?
Yeah.
The DC for an impossible situation is 30. So even if
you're right.
with that
You're
kind
right.
of roll, he could have deceived somebody that he knew personally into thinking that this was his actual name.
Yeah. And the way I would have done it is I would have been like, so interesting enough, he actually knew your name ahead of time, but the way you worded it and the way that you presented yourself in such a devious way, he has to believe that maybe he's got a different person altogether. So he calls you by the fake name now. And just roll with it. If for whatever reason this is something that you already pre-planned and you're like, oh shit, well, he was supposed to already know your name, so this messes things up, just roll with it. Make develop a ability to just roll with the punches and go with it.
Exactly. I mean, that's the main thing about being a DM, is just being able to roll with the fact that, like, you don't know what a character is going to do. Because, like, I mean, there's some players that I've had that, like, threw me for a friggin' loop.
Right. And the thing is you can't punish those players for being smart and inquisitive and, and being able to figure stuff out like that. Like, you can't punish them for the character that they are. Like, come on now. I would understand if, maybe he rolled a 1 or something. Maybe it's like, oh, I think I recognize you from somewhere. But, I don't know. Even then, it's just really ridiculous. But anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to our last story here. Our DM had a character since the start, and it actually worked pretty well. He didn't do all that much, and was actually interesting for the first 3 sessions. On the 4th is when it started to go downhill. His character started doing everything and forcing us to go places. Alright, already starting off pretty bad with a DMPC, but whatever. None of us got to do much since this character was always in the spotlight doing all the puzzles. While after a while, one of the players had enough and started arguing with him to stop doing everything and or play by himself. Yes, exactly what I would have said. After that, the DM says, "I take a big swing at you with my axe," and killed his character. Then the DM got legitimately angry with the player and went to the other room and watched TV since they didn't want to play the game anymore. Okay. All right. So many things wrong. One, you don't kill a player character just because you're mad, or for any reason other than, it's in combat. Like normal play. You don't do that. You don't punish your players ever. That creates hostility, and it's just wrong. And
Exactly. And like, I don't know. I've had DMs that have DMPCs,
right.
but it's like they're not in the forefront, and if they are, it's because like their particular character is the only one still up or something like that.
Of course,
But
yeah.
most of the time, if there's like a DM that I have played with that had one, their character is usually either the first or like close to the second or third to go down. Like they treat their character like it's just anybody else.
Exactly.
But I know that I'm also the kind of person that like I have in the past done this before, where like I not the killing of another like player character, but like I had one where it was like they're like the party was following a PC that I had made, and he was like a death cleric or something like that, but he was like helping the group, and like I had them going through fields of zombies, and like just to kind of expedite things, I had my guy kind of like go up and like just kill like a whole bunch of zombies as everybody else was still like kind of fighting them, just to kind of like expedite the the combat.
Right.
But when it came to like main encounters, he would kind of walk away and be like, "Hey, I have to hold down this area. You guys take care of that, and like do your thing."
Like
What you're here for.
one other thing you could do is, first of all, I will say this. I understand this coming from a new DM, someone that wanted to play the game, right? And they were really interested, but no one wanted to DM. So you forced to be a DM, and so you make a character that I'm gonna give a warning, be careful with it, but I can forgive that, right? Because
Yeah, 'cause it's not always that you can find like a DM that's like willing to run with certain things.
exactly.
So if you're the kind of person that's like, you know what, I might as well just DM and just like have a character that I can play in my thing. Like you said, just at least have them there, but don't make them like the main attraction. Like don't get mad at other people
Right.
and like kill their characters, because it's like they worked hard to make their characters just as hard as you did.
Right.
So it's kind of messed up for you to like get mad that somebody's seeing through your bullcrap and seeing that you just want to put your person up in the forefront. And,
yeah.
And then get mad at them and kill their character? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense at all. And what's interesting about this is that they were going through puzzles, right? Puzzles that you already knew the answer to. Why make a puzzle at all if you are going to be the DMPC and say, "Oh, the answer to the riddle is Sphinx, and if you want to get through this maze, just go that way." Like, are you serious? Here's the other thing.
Like,
if
you
you're
should use a DMPC as like a tool. So it's like if the rest of the group is not catching on to like a hint or something like that, be like, "Oh hey, this guy kind of caught onto this. What do you guys think?" And then have it run.
Right. And what I would do, right, is I would have, for example, let's say you got a group and you got, like, let's say 3 barbarians and 2 rogues, right? No one can cast a spell and no one can identify a magic item to save their life, right? So what you could do is have an old man wizard in a wheelchair that will never lift a hand in a fight to save his life, but will identify that magic sword he got. He definitely will read the runes on the wall at the dungeon. Like, he'll do that shit. But all this fighting, he's too old for this shit. Just wheel him around and give him some rum at the end of the fight, and he's all good. Like, that's the way you use a DMPC. Because in that situation, this is the important part, is no spotlight is taken away from the players.
Exactly. Because, like, I mean, the main thing that I do when I make a character, like, that has to be a part of a group that I make or something like that.
Yeah.
I try to have it fill a role that isn't filled. So, like, if they need a healer, I'll provide a healer. Or, like, if they need a barbarian, I'll give them a barbarian or something like that. Just to kind of, like, make the party a little more balanced. But, like, just, I'll have it be some kind of generic character that doesn't really have that many characteristics or anything like that. They're kind of bland, and they're more of just like a hired hand, in a sense.
Yeah, and I would also do it if I feel like, you know, when everyone's making a character, if, like, let's say there's no healer in the group, and I see that someone's like, alright, well, I guess I'll play the cleric, because we don't have a healer. I'll be like, no, like, how about you play what you want, and since there's no healer, let's throw a healer in. Or, let's say we have 4 wizards, a sorcerer, and a bard, right? I'll just be like, here is a big meat shield. He's dumb, doesn't know how to do anything, but stand in front of the damage. Right? Like, and then everybody gets to play their wizard, you know, sorcerer, whatever, right? And that makes the dynamic perfect, and on top of that, you're not taking any spotlight out of the rest of the group. Yeah, so definitely that's what we would do in that situation. And I think that's going to conclude this episode. So I want to thank you, Zane, for joining me on this episode of D&D Horror Stories. Definitely. All right, and hopefully we get to do this again, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Today's video was brought to you by Mana Traders. Want to keep up with the meta without spending hundreds of dollars on decks? Head on down to Mana Traders and sign up for a rental account, and if you use our affiliate link, you can support the channel as well. So thank you so much for watching the video, and thank you to manatraders.com.